Hello, my name's Andrea Bordenka. I am the CEO of Desco Medical Service. I am also a leadership coach and the founder of Lead Yourself Youth Incorporated, a nonprofit organization that brings leadership skills and development and practices to future leaders. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about linguistics and the generative impact that conversations have, and how certain conversations that are missing can cause needless frustration. So, an example, if you're in a conversation with somebody and they care about clothes and you care about art, and they make some comment about something that you're wearing that they don't like, you can take that one of two ways. You can say, well, I wonder what it is that they don't like about my clothes, and you know what? I might not care about what they think about my clothes because that's important to them. Their standard is how they look and how they dress. My standard is focusing on my art. So my energy and my attention is going to go towards, and my investment is going to go towards art and investing in that, where theirs is going to be on clothes. So I could see that as a personal attack, and I can get really hurt by it and put a lot of emotional weight to that. Or I can see that as a difference in standards, and they care about clothes and I don't. So when we talk about standards and assessments, of course it's not nice to go up to somebody and say, I don't like your clothes. But people do that. People make assessments all of the time. And it happens in organizations. It happens when we interpret leadership, or we interpret certain actions and directives in a different way. My definition and interpretation of leadership might be, and is most likely, different from many other people's, and each of us has our own interpretation of what leadership is. There might be similarities there, but there might be some distinctions that are different. So if we're using language to mean the same things, or assuming that they mean the same things, yet we're interpreting it and listening in a different way, that's when assumptions happen. That's when breakdowns happen. A lot of times we're not having a conversation about what are your standards for leadership, for certain directives, for whatever it is, for organization, disorganization, and what are your assessments that you draw from those standards. So there's a lot of unspoken standards that create a lot of arguments because there's just assumptions there. Another example I have for you is my son. So my son, there was a series of days that he was late for school, and he didn't have his homework ready, he didn't have his backpack ready, and so I caught myself in this loop of saying, you're disorganized, get your stuff together, come on. And then I noticed that there was almost a resignation in him, that when situations came up, or if he was running late, he would just say, well, it's because I'm disorganized. And I realized what the language was doing. It was being very generative, and it was creating assessments from my mouth into his listening, and then it was creating assessments in his head about how he was acting and engaging, and the emotional component was the resignation. So I changed it to, hey, we're leaving for school in 15 minutes. What do you need help with today? I'm noticing that your homework's there, over there. How do we get it in one place? Do you need my help? So I framed it from a story of you're disorganized to, hey, I'm here to support you. And you know what? Here's the thing. What are my standards for organization? Did I ever have a conversation with him about what my standards and expectations are around organization? No, I didn't. So my standards are, and my assessment is, so my standards are that you're ready for school on time, that you have all of your stuff ready when we say it's time to go, and my assessment, if that doesn't happen, is the breakdown. So, or the assessment was you weren't ready on time, you're disorganized. So that was the original assessment. So when I changed it, I had a conversation around what are my standards and expectations. Sean, I expect that we're going to be ready at a certain time, and I expect that all of your stuff is going to be here. So I'm going to help you get there. And here's the thing. So I can ground my assessment of his disorganization, and I can say, well, he was late 2 out of the 5 days last week, but what about grounding for him being organized? He was ready 3 out of those 5 days last week. He had all of his stuff together. So why am I only focusing on the times when he's disorganized? So what we do without knowing it is we tend to draw these assessments, provide these assessments, and it provides other people. It can be our kids, it can be coworkers, it can be spouses, parents, it can be anyone in our lives. So we're drawing on these, or we're saying these assessments, and it's based on a historical historical context, and we're perpetuating that dynamic moving forward. So taking a step back to say, what is the language and what is it generating? Because language is not just descriptive. I'm not just describing this beautiful, I'm at the Quabbin Reservoir, it's beautiful. Yes, I'm describing it, but if I were to say, I'm going to go to the Quabbin today and I'm going to shoot a video, that's generative because I am doing that. I am taking action. Language is generative. It produces action, and people produce assessments based in language. So if there's an opportunity for Sean in the future, and it calls for creativity and organization, he might not go for it because he might think, oh, I'm creative, but you know what? I live in a story of disorganization, so it's not for me. So it might preclude him from expanding his possibilities of what he can offer of value in the future, all because I'm focusing on his disorganization and helping him create that story. The wonderful thing is that we can take a look at where are we providing assessments, our self-assessments that are no longer serving us. So if I have a story that I'm disorganized, I can look back and say, you know what? That story isn't serving me anymore. I want to be more organized. What does organized look like? How do I get there? What are the practices? What are the actions? What's the help I need? So living in linguistics is something we all do. We all have language, not negotiable. We all have a body, not negotiable. And we all have emotions, not negotiable. So all those 3 things, they interact together. This impacts organizations, this impacts family dynamics and friendships. Thank you for listening.